So there's a warning that drug-resistant infections will kill an extra 10 million people a year. This is what we're waking up to this morning, worldwide, of course, and the cost up to £63 trillion by 2050 unless action is taken. Now, the economist Jim O'Neill, who was appointed by David Cameron to lead a review of antimicrobial resistance, says international efforts are needed to avert an economic and health crisis. Doctors have been warning for years about the growing health threat of drug-resistant superbugs, but it's taken an economist to put the eye-watering price tag on what will happen if nations continue to ignore the problem. Jim O'Neill says he hopes the potential impact on the global economy will make other countries wake up to the seriousness of the issue.
To put it in some kind of perspective, $100 trillion over 35 years equates to losing a UK every year for 35 years. So I know sometimes we don't have people around the world that love us all the time, but I think the world would not be very happy if we were losing a UK every year. One would presume, as left unattended, this problem gets bigger, it will then cause consequences which are really impossible.
Well, with me now is Professor Colin Garner, who's the Chief Executive of Antibiotic Research UK, which is based here in North Yorkshire. Good morning, Colin.
Good morning.
What do you make of this report?
Well, I think it's a wake-up call. I think that for too long people haven't realised that we have this problem that's creeping up on us, and I think this report is extremely timely. And maybe people will start now to try and do something about it.
Is it as bad as Jim O'Neill says?
It is as bad as he says. It's not that bad yet in the United Kingdom, but if you go to countries like India, there about 1 in 10 babies will die from an antibiotic-resistant infection pretty much at birth. So there's a danger that we get those sorts of rates of death here in the UK if we don't do something about this.
Why has it taken an economist to tell us this?
I think because people always like to put figures and numbers on the health impact of any particular disease, whether it's cancer or cardiovascular disease. And I think an economist has been able to demonstrate not only the economic impact of what can happen if we don't do anything about it, but also the societal impact as well.
In terms of it coming to the fore now, is it something that we should have paid more attention to a few years ago?
I think it is. One of the issues, of course, is that the pharmaceutical companies, many of the big ones, have ceased to develop new antibiotics because they can't see how they can get an economic return out of it. So we're left at the moment with a big black hole where no new antibiotics are being developed, but more and more resistance is occurring. And my charity, which was founded just in the middle of this year, was instigated by a professor of medical microbiology at St George's in London, and he's been talking about this problem for the last 5 to 10 years.
Is it something that we've taken antibiotics to make ourselves well, but has it broken down our immune systems?
No, it's not our immune systems that get broken down, although our resistance when we have an infection or an operation is lower. And so these resistant bacteria, which we might, all of us, have in our bodies anyway, they come to the fore, and then we don't have antibiotics to actually treat them.
What can we do? Because David Cameron has got Jim O'Neill to come up with this report. What would you like to happen now, Colin?
Well, our charity, Antibiotic Research UK, is about trying to develop new antibiotics, and that's what we need to do. But it's a rather peculiar situation because we want to develop new antibiotics, but actually we want to use them as infrequently as possible, because otherwise resistance to the new antibiotics will occur. So we basically have to develop new antibiotics and put them on the shelf and only use them in extreme circumstances. And that's a rather peculiar model for the pharmaceutical industry, to develop drugs and then not actually have them used.
Mm. In terms of superbugs, what have you come across? What are the things that we are resistant to?
Well, the ones I think people should be concerned about are the so-called gram-negative bacteria. These are things like E. coli and Klebsiella and Acinetobacter. And they are common bacteria in our gut, on our skin, and these are the ones that are picking up resistance, and we don't have any antibiotics to deal with these resistant bacteria.
Professor Colin Garner, many thanks for coming in this morning. Colin is from the Antibiotic Research UK charity. He's the chief executive of that charity.